ignition.
Houston, we have a problem.
NASA, it is 9:30. We will begin the public participation portion of the March 6th meeting of the Volusia County Council. We'll call this portion to order, and we have 3 people who wish to speak to us on an issue. Please address your questions or concerns to me, and there will not be a response from the county council, but we can direct you to someone if you have issues you want. I will direct you to someone who maybe can help you. Robert Money, you're the first speaker. If you would state your name and address for the record, and appreciate it.
Good morning, everybody. I'm here. My name's Robert Money at the crime scene, 1512 Newport Ave, DeLand. This is my 5th appearance. Nearly a decade of being witness and victim of Volusia County organized crime. I am fighting for my life in a situation that could only be sustained by derelict, incompetent, and corrupt FBI. The information I have and continue to gather is everywhere. FBI has been informed on this matter and every major incident in this country, including 9/11. I was forced to sue Volusia County Organized Crime Network because the FBI is a disgrace. The U.S. Constitution gives me the right and duty to expose this. Excuse me. It is difficult to contain my outrage. My attempts to force an investigation of Sheriff Johnson caused his retirement. Newly elected Sheriff Chitwood meets Speaker of the U.S. House, Paul Ryan, at Ryan's personal residence in Wisconsin. Chitwood then meets former FBI Director James Comey in Jacksonville. I observed a cover-up. Mike Henry's cocaine trafficking front business was dispersed and the compound demolished. I called FBI headquarters to congratulate them on the firing of Comey. I told them the FBI will be shamed once I obtain the intended subpoena powers. 2 days later, 5 days before pretrial, my case gets dismissed. I'm now in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals where my case is pending. Okay, drug cartels are not smarter than the United States. Drug cartels buy politicians and law enforcement. The FBI, not the president, must be investigated.
Thank you, Robert. Karen Clark.
Good morning. It's Karen Clark, 1855 Grand Avenue, up in DeLand and Glenwood. I'm here mostly for the fact that the company that the county hired to do the resurfacing and renovations up Grand Avenue for the beautification by putting in sidewalks and those awful, awful roads. And it wasn't just on Grand Avenue. Glenwood Road, Hazen Road. If you, like myself, we're not trained in road work, road rebuilding, but you would clearly see that these people should not get one dime from the county. It's awful. There's flooding everywhere. They didn't do the grading correctly. And I spoke to some of those men that were in the white trucks playing Candy Crush on their computer things, that they needed to redo something. They were putting ruts in the center divider, which is, Glenwood was known for the scenic route up Grand Avenue. We have the trail, which is a nice trail. Not very many people use it, but it's there. Then they put in the sidewalks. It's just awful. And I don't know who you guys can guide me to, because they should not get paid a dime until everything is fixed. Richfern Road went from Plymouth Avenue to 44. If you know that area in West Volusia, it takes you right to the BP station and it goes elsewhere. It was awful when it got started. It looked like it was a preliminary grading area, but it was final. So now you have holes everywhere because it's not consistent, it's not tight. And don't even talk about Hazen Road, which is one of the oldest roads. By the way, Mary Bethune had her first girls' school, and it's in the Volusia County book of schools for girls. They had 6 or 12 girls, and it outgrew it. They went elsewhere. It's a pathetic thing to have awful road in front of it, just as a historical landmark, which is going through the title. So you need to not give road rebuilding, and I don't know the name of the company, my notes are elsewhere, just because they were the lowest bid. don't hire them again until after you come by and actually see these things. I have a video that I spoke to before about possibly showing it, but I didn't want to do it on no notice. But it was at night. They're supposedly finished according to the county paper, and they're not. There's no reflectiveness. If you're on Grand Avenue, fine, you don't, you can hit a tree. But on Glenwood Road from Grand Avenue all the way to Woodland Boulevard, that's a major little roadway over there. And where you have maybe 6 inches past the white stripe before you get our big oak trees. Well, at night in the rain, and that's when I filmed this, you saw nothing. And again, it says it's complete on the county site, and I know it's not. Anybody else driving there would definitely say, the county's doing a really lousy job here, and you're getting blamed. And it's because you
Thank you.
don't know.
Thank you, Karen.
Bye.
Within 4 minutes, you will have an email from me to you, and if you'll state that to me, I'll make sure it gets directed to the correct department. Thank you. I guess this is Roxana Moat? Roxy? This says Roxana. Everybody known as, AKA.
Okay. Hi, I'm Roxy Moat. We live at 2733 South Peninsula Drive in Daytona. Many of you know my husband Joe and I from all of our years of volunteering in the county. We are here today to request that dogs be allowed in motorized vehicles and contained in bicycle trailers while riding on the beach. Just to be clear, we're not asking for dogs to be out of the vehicles or the trailers on the sand. This request applies only to the right of having dogs contained in the vehicles while driving. To help you understand why this request is so important to us, I'll give you a quick history. And as you can see, here is a face to match who I'm talking about. Joe's family has lived in Volusia County for 48 years, mine for 39 years. Joe and I moved into our home 36 years ago to be in walking distance of the beach. We spent all of our free time with friends on the beach, but all of that stopped when we rescued a 3-year-old Silky Terrier before she could be euthanized. She has been through a lot since we adopted her. Surgery, platelet-rich plasma treatments for severe arthritis, and continued therapy every month for other chronic conditions caused by her abuse. Due to all of this, Bentley has terrible insecurities and separation anxiety, and when she experiences stress, it worsens her conditions. We try to minimize her anxiety by taking her most of the places we can. Unfortunately, the beach is not one of them. It is totally off limits to us. Of course, now when we walk Bentley. When we bicycle, Joe pulls her behind in a trailer built for dogs. None of this is allowed on the beach, and neither is driving on the beach in a vehicle with her. My mother is nearly 87 years old and cannot walk very far, and driving on the beach has always been one of her favorite things to do. As part of the family outing, we used to ride on the beach, maybe on the way to lunch or a friend's home, but none of that is possible without leaving Bentley for hours. And none of us wants to do that because in her case it's cruel. And to be honest, Bentley gives us so much joy, we have separation anxiety too. We are completely baffled as to why dogs are not allowed in vehicles on the beach. Everyone we talk to is surprised by this rule. You may argue that a few people will break the rule and allow the dog out of the vehicle. In that case, we say those people should be reprimanded. Punishing 100% of your constituents because a few will abuse the privilege is not our American way. People should be held accountable for their own actions. Rules and laws don't guarantee 100% of beachgoers will honor them. That is the case whether it be alcohol, littering, or speeding. There are always a few bad apples, but the majority of the people just want to enjoy a beautiful day in paradise. We are sure there are others who would enjoy having their beloved companions along for the ride too. Thank you for your time and attention. We look forward to hearing from you on this matter, and we are available for any time for discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roxy. I believe that's the last speaker we have, so at this time we will close this portion of the council meeting, and we will see you back here at 10 o'clock. everyone ready? We're going to have another speaker who, if you'll just come on, make your way down so we can get this through. I guess that would be you, Rick. Well, yes, sir. We opened the meeting back up just for you. So if you would come on down and let's make a deal, okay?
I certainly apologize.
Let's just go ahead and address the council and state your name and address for the record, and we'll give you your time, sir.
Well, good morning. My name is Rich Malfitano. I'm the president of Rolling Thunder, Florida Chapter 8, a nonprofit veterans-focused organization here in Volusia County. One of 103 chapters across the United States. I reside in Port Orange, 717 Purcell Lane. And again, that's Port Orange. I guess the reason why I'm here is first to introduce myself, and thank you for having me here. It was kind of a last minute thing. I had so many meetings this week. But I want to tell you a very short introduction about Rolling Thunder, what we do and why we do it. Again, we're a nonprofit veteran-focused organization, a national organization, and our main mission is to educate the public of the POW MIA issue, which is Prisoners of War Mission in Action, and we advocate for the 84,000 Americans that are still unaccounted for from all past wars. We work with the Joint Service, the POW MIA Accounting Agency, which performs search and recovery efforts. We also support our own search and recovery team. We support and finance our own search and recovery team that goes to past war sites and searches for remains through our information that we've gathered through intelligence. And our mission is to bring them all home, of course. When a sighting, when there's a remains found at a sighting, they're brought back to the United States. And through DNA, we have a DNA library in Hawaii that's able to determine if or not it is a specific prisoner of war, American soldier. Of course, there's a whole DNA organization that we support that gets the DNA on file, but we've recovered over 1,700 in the past 8 years, which, if you think it's not important for those families, the war is never over. That's one of the things we do. Of course, we support and lobby for veterans. We've had many bills presented to Congress that we've got passed, if I may.
You might want to wait
Okay.
because you're on down to 14 seconds.
Okay, 14 seconds. I'll wrap it up. We're also, you see the POW flag flies in all the city buildings in Volusia County. Okay, we're responsible for that. We'll provide the flags. We like to get that up in all the city buildings in the county.
Okay. Thank you, Rick, for being here. Thank you for what you do, the service you do, having a father who was a POW. At least he wasn't MIA, so thank you very much for all that you do.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. With that being said, that is the last speaker, and we will adjourn the portion. Beep, beep. Good morning. We will be starting the council meeting in 5 minutes. That's T minus 5 minutes and counting. Good morning. We will be starting the meeting in 1 minute. 1 minute. That's T minus 1 minute. So, council, please join us so we can start the meeting on time. As you know, we have a full schedule today and tonight, and of about 15 seconds or less. You got one. Good morning. It is 10 o'clock, and we'll call the meeting, the March 6th meeting of the Volusia County Council to order. And at this time, we're going to have the invocation by Reverend Sullivan of the Volusia Buddhist Fellowship.
Yes, thank you.
Ask the council to stand. This will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning, and thank you for having me with you today. I invite you to bow your head and close your eyes, or otherwise look into your hearts. I offer this invocation in recognition of the many different paths walked by members of our community. Invoking respectful awareness of our spiritual teachers, and with hearts filled with gratitude for our many gifts and blessings, we offer our service this morning. May each of us bring to this meeting and to one another an openness of heart and mind, so that as a group we can address the challenges facing our world. May we be ardent in our search for truth, alert to the pitfalls of pride and conceit, and aware of the many gifts offered us by each precious moment. May we be mindful that our thoughts may be revealed by our words, but our true self is revealed by our actions. May we always remember that there is no true wisdom without compassion, no true justice without kindness. And thus may we make kindness and compassion the foundation on which we build our relationships with one another, with our community, and with all beings with whom we share the world. In my tradition, at the end of prayer, we put our hands together in front of our hearts, uniting our hands in one gesture, just as many individuals unite as one community. You may join me in this if you like. Thank you for your presence. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's on. Good morning. Thank you so much.
I'm not worrying. I just have comments.
Focus on this.
Focus on me. The hell?
Sit down.
May we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Post?
Present.
Ms. Wheeler? Ms. Cusack? Ms. Denny's?
Here.
Dr. Lowry?
Here.
Mr. Patterson? Here. Mr. Kelly?
Here. Is there anyone who wishes to pull any consent item? Is there anyone who wishes to comment on any of the consent items?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Denny's.
Mr. Chair, I want to pull item H1, the PowerPoint. I don't know if staff was going to pull that on the Hope Place Public Library for discussion.
Okay, Mr. Deneen.
Yes, I'd plan on commenting, not pulling, but commenting on G, H, and U, which connects to one of the, to H.
Okay, so we will go ahead and can I get a motion on the consent agenda absent item H1? I don't know about H1.
Chair, I move approval of all the consent agenda items except G, H, and U.
No, G, H, and U are not pulled. They're just comment on. So item H.
All right, item H.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second post. Any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, the motion stands as approved. And we will now have
Ms. Butler
item
will come
H-
up.
Let's do item H.
Yes, we can do item,
Or G or H first.
why don't you do H first?
Okay.
Where's Jerry at?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of council, Donna Butler. This is very exciting item to bring forward to you. This is actually, the title doesn't sound very exciting, but we're rolling together 4 different fiscal years worth of funds in community development block grants to fund our Hope Place Library, which will not only be an asset for the community, but for, obviously for the facility as well. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of some of the services that are going to be there and the time frames, and then also show you a few cool pictures. So this is what the building looked like originally. Not very exciting. It has now been torn down, and nothing's there. And then this is just a nice rendering that the architect has put together of what the new library will look like. Just so you know, this was a very damaged building. It had mold and mildew all the way through the roof, all the way through the building, so it was thought to be safer and not that much more expensive to go ahead and tear it down. Here's a rendering of the inside of what it's going to look like. So we're going to be...
Excuse me, can I stop you right here?
Yes, ma'am.
For the IT, my screen, not that it's critical, but going for my screen is down. But that's okay, go on, we'll work on it, thank you.
Oh, that's strange. Yeah, the other ones are up.
So our hours of operation are going to be Monday through Saturday, 45 hours per week. We have shifted the times to ensure that we can serve those that are working. So Monday through Thursday it'll be 11:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then Friday and Saturday 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. We want to make sure that those that are working, if they can get back, that they're able to utilize the facility. So the services, it's going to be a broad range of services like you've heard recently. We're going to have family literacy programs, the program that's called 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, since there'll be so many children there, storytime programs, after-school programs for school-age children, learning cultural music and making programs for adults and teens, movie programs for all ages, and then they'll provide assistance on a personal level with library online research for tutor.com and lynda.com. We will have 16 public access PCs, so they'll have access to the internet, Microsoft Office Suite for all ages. We'll have Wi-Fi access, which also enables personal devices such as smartphones and tablet computers and laptops to be used. We're going to have Wi-Fi hotspots available for 2-week checkout, so they can actually take these back to their homes or into the facility to be able to use so that they can have access to the internet. And then they'll have 2 early literacy computer stations for ages 2 through 8 that'll help folks help their children learn. Basic computer skills training and assistance, internet access for job searches and completing applications, and our librarians are there to help these folks go through this process. We'll help them set up an email account. They can learn how to do a cover letter and write a resume, and then there's a lot of government applications for assistance that are online. So unemployment claims, food or housing assistance, Social Security, Medicaid, and insurance through Affordable Care Act. Materials collection, it'll be a small collection because it's a small facility, but it'll be complete. Basic reference collection, adult materials, teen materials, children's, newspapers, basic periodicals, and DVDs. I'm not moving.
This is all non-general.
That's my last slide. That's why I'm not moving.
Okay.
So that's it in a nutshell, and just wanted you to hear how spectacular it's going to be, not only for the community. Our librarian, Lucinda Coley, has been there in the afternoons and watched many, many children coming off the school buses. So this is going to be a great asset to the community.
Mr. Chair and Council, this morphed, okay, originally when we talked about doing this program several years ago, when I talked to Faru. Originally, we were looking at whether we would extend some additional services because of the nature of the programs that we were going to have and the people that we can help out there. But then what it morphed into is that with non-general fund, we believed that we had, and Linda believed that we had a hole, so to speak, in terms of our ability to provide library services in that area of the community, because things have moved over time. What we decided was, and I think previous council and now trying to come to fruition, was that in addition to the needed services that can apply to make Hope Place even more successful, this became something where we tried to do a benefit to the neighborhood which has agreed to accept the facility. In other words, when we brought this facility there, obviously these facilities, people have problems sometimes artificially in neighborhoods that they think it's going to harm them. Well, in this case, this facility is not going to harm anybody, but the neighborhood has been really good in trying to understand and be accepting to the facility. Well, one of the things that turned out is, if you remember, we opened the playground also to part of the neighborhood, so it wasn't just Hope Place, that we could extend the services by, instead of just sort of a certain menu of services for that facility, we decided to make it a more comprehensive library experience for the neighborhood. So it's not just the people at Hope Place, now it's the neighborhood. It's also a way to help people integrate in that neighborhood, to connect with the facility so that the neighborhood connects with the facility. So it's a way to try to upgrade the entire neighborhood at the same time by giving them a higher level of services. And Mr. Chair, as you mentioned at the last meeting, which I will tell you the library staff was ecstatic about, was it's not just about books and it's not just about checking out DVDs. There's so many other services that the libraries offer that not only will they be available to the residents, they're going to be available to the general population there, the neighborhood itself. So this, to me, and it is, as Donna said, we originally looked at taking the one building. Remember, this was the one building that they couldn't convert for any other use, and we thought we could use it for the library. But in the end, and Jerry's here because on you is when you actually start looking at construction. We looked at it and we decided it made no sense to keep what was left. It was the worst damaged building. It's the one building had a lot of mold in it, and it made no sense when you're going to have kids in there and family to try and preserve that little bit of concrete. So at that point, we decided it's the one new building that needs to go out. But I think it'll serve a purpose well beyond just a Hope Place residence.
Okay.
So this action today asks you to transfer $404,000 in CDBG funds to this year's grant fund, which we're able to do. It brings the total project to a little over $1 million with $971,772 for Part B, which is what Jerry's going to come up and talk about now under
U.
item U.
Wait just a minute. I don't know that we're going to come up under item U right now. What I'd like to do, since this has been pulled, I would like to have council discuss it with you having given us the information. So Ms. Dennis, if you'd like to make a motion.
Actually, I haven't started discussion yet. Thank you.
Okay.
Before the motion, which I will approve, but for discussion purposes. So
You make a motion after.
this is,
That's what I thought.
this is,
I think, according to our parliamentarian, to get it on the floor, we need to have a motion from council to discuss it. Is that correct?
A motion either to pass it or kick it out.
We want to discuss
discuss
it. She
anything
wants to discuss
without,
it.
with or without approval under Robert's Rules of Order, can we not?
Mr. Chair?
I'm okay, I just wanted to get this up for the vote since we just had the presentation. It made sense to have it from
Becker?
that.
I yield to your parliamentarian, but I think G, H, and U, you've already passed. You're
We
just-
haven't passed H.
You haven't passed H. You passed
The motion was passed absent H.
Okay. I
So
misunderstood.
what I wanted to do, since we just had the presentation, to me, it made sense to dovetail into that to discuss it from the council. If
Okay,
that's-
I will make a motion for approval for item H and H1.
Motion's made. Is there a second by Wheeler? Any discussion? Ms.
Yes,
Dennis.
thank you. Okay, so here's my question. This is going to join our ranks as a library in Volusia County, correct? Under that heading?
Yes.
This is the heading that we're placing it under. What's the distance from this library in Volusia County to the existing libraries in the area? Well, give me a radius. What are we looking at? Generally speaking, Lucinda, good morning. Generally speaking, you don't have to have it down to the quarter or half a mile. I won't do that to you.
Well,
State your name for the record, please.
Lucinda Coley, Library Services Director. It's approximately probably 5 miles or more from Ormond Beach and Daytona Beach. When we
Maybe 6.
When we had to close the Holly Hill Library, what I said to my staff is that if we ever open a new library, it'll be further west in a neighborhood, which is where it should be. And this is a great location. And we have over 2,000 library card holders in that, what I would consider that service area. So, and lots of children.
Thank you. And here's my question, Mr. Manager, what I'd like to see us going forward. While this is a great project and I support it wholeheartedly, at the same time, I don't want to lose sight of our other libraries, and specifically Oak Hill. We have a library down there that serves an underserved population. We've known that, it's been identified, but we've done nothing to expand that. We've done nothing to include services down there. Do they have computers? Does our library in Oak Hill have half of what is accessible to our citizens here at this one?
Well, we have adult computers, we have children's computers, we have Wi-Fi access. They have access to the hotspots, they have a collection. We do programming across the street in the, I think it's the Village Improvement Hall. So we are providing programming, we do children's programming. So it's a full-service community library.
What are the hours?
The hours,
It's not comprehensive.
it's
It's
not
not comprehensive.
full, it's a Monday through Friday. It's a Monday through Friday with an evening.
So we, and please know I'm championing this. I think that's a great thing to accommodate the citizens and looking at the hours, 11:30 to 7, and Friday and Saturday, 9:30 to 5. What I would ask you, Mr. Manager, I want to look at our library system countywide and look at the underserved areas, and if we have decided that CDBG monies can be used to expand something like this, we can certainly dovetail that with the other underserved areas in the county.
Well, we totally agree. If I'm not mistaken, in fact, I talked to Mr. Chair this morning, that one of the things that I was asked to put on as a specific, we'll call it a part of the agenda or a workshop, is you asked for an update on the library system. So I think it dovetails into it perfectly. And this opportunity really came along and really was a part of trying to morph and use that building for a more limited amount of services. And if you remember, that made more sense to expand it, because you also have to look at volume of people and density, and that you have a lot of density right there. So it will be used, but I do agree that as part of this discussion, it's time to have a relook at where we are, where we're going. And one of the real struggles is that in some cases, these small libraries, that you would think in some cases when you consolidated, do they sort of fall off the map? Well, the problem is with some of the ones like in Oak Hill or further out, now you're getting to where you're completely underserving people. So there comes that dilemma of how do you deal with that? I think it's a perfect opportunity. And in fact, we can make that, in fact, I talked to the chair about this morning on when he wanted to do this. And we talked about the library may be the next thing we want to do. So we could do the library system.
And if we need to look at retrofitting, if we're setting the stage using CDBG funds,
Correct.
We have opened up a funding source here, and I think it's worth taking a look at.
I agree. And I do think it was part of the intent, the original intent. I go back, when I started my career, they just started CDBG. This actually was one of the original intents, is these kinds of programs.
It's well served, and again, and that's an area population that needs to be served, and I think they will be served very well with this addition to the Hope Place.
I think it's a really good idea that we take a look at it comprehensively, and why don't we do an update of where we are, and then what the focus is going to be, and we could look at that and what our projections are over the next 5 years.
Wonderful, thank you. That's it.
Ms. Post.
I wanted to piggyback. Janine said a lot of the things I had on my mind as well, but especially being in my district, I'm very excited about this library coming in, and I've worked very closely with the residents in that area, with Hope Place coming in, and I think this library is going to be really a pivotal point for that area. I think it's going to have tremendous impact, in addition to daycare and other things that are being provided out of Hope Place. But you know, between the workforce training, the government programs assistance that you're providing, and the fact that we're able to pay for it without you know, coming up with new funding is fantastic. But I think you made an excellent point as well of the 2,000 library card holders just in that area, and perhaps we might get more library card holders if we do have the library in that area, because you know, I can tell you I've talked to many residents there who count pennies for gas, and that might not have been an option before. So thank you very much, and I'm super excited about it.
Ms. Cusack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to discuss the fact if this is reoccurring dollars or non-reoccurring.
For construction dollars, we get an annual allotment of CDBG funds each year.
And this is only for construction
Yes.
dollars?
This
Yes.
is only construction that we're bringing forward to you now,
One time.
one time.
That was my question, was this a one-time issue, but this reoccurring? Also, community block grant funding, is there any other person, is there a community block grant in your district for, do they have their own, or just like the city of Daytona Beach have community block grant funds?
The smaller cities, Oak Hill being one,
Mm-hmm.
either, are they competitive? Or is it?
They compete, right?
They compete actually in the Small Cities Grant Program. So
Right.
they can get their funds directly through CDBG. But we can still use countywide dollars if that's the direction of the council to assist other cities, except for the entitlement communities. We cannot help the entitlement communities,
Right.
which are City of Daytona Beach, Deltona, and Port Orange.
They have their own grants for CDBG.
And they would not be included as far as people that would be utilizing this library? They can use any of them, but they don't have to contribute. Is that what you're saying? Or they cannot?
I'm not sure I understand. They receive their own CDBG dollars because
Right.
they're a small cities grant. But anyone can use this facility. Anyone in Volusia County can use any of our county libraries.
And this is only for construction that we're doing
It
this
is only for construction.
one time? This
Yes,
is
ma'am.
non-reoccurring dollars. Thank you, Mr. Chair, that's what I need to know.
Thank you. Mr. Patterson?
I know this discussion is getting a little bit away from the main motion here, but since it's brought up with the library hours, my parliamentary procedure group has been meeting in Seminole and Orange counties on Sundays, and their Sunday libraries are open. I'm just wondering if we could look at that. It could create a problem. I already see Lucinda jumping up here, but
I'm sorry, we have 6 branches open on Sunday.
So we do.
Oh, you do?
All the
Yes.
6 regional
Okay,
libraries are open
I
on
guess
Sunday.
City Island, which I go to on Saturdays, is not open on
What-
Sunday.
Yes,
Well-
it normally is.
Oh, is it?
It's just
normally?
not open yet right now.
Oh,
It's
well,
one
I
of
know
those
that
days.
much. I've been there.
No, what I think we should do, I think this is a good reason to have this overview and workshop, is to go over all this. I will tell you, in fact, I think a number of you ran into Joey Alexander at our employee banquet, where we recognize people, how many years they had in service. Joey was the point on the spear, if you remember back in those days, to go to Sunday hours, because we didn't have Sunday hours. And now, it's like everything else, though. It's all a matter of cost. And so while we're putting capital dollars in here, we still have an ongoing cost that we have to come out of the library fund. So as we talk about where we're going in the library, we'll show you the 5-year forecast based on, they have their own separate millage rate.
I think one thing that might be helpful to all of us is we have a library board that's very active.
Very
and
active.
I think that if we could present some of these questions to them to address at their next meeting before we bring it back to council, that they may come up with even other ideas like Mr. Patterson and Ms. Dendes has come up with. So if we could have a report back from them put that on their agenda for them to discuss what we want to hear about and things that we don't even know that they may have for us. Might be helpful to get that back because
I don't think it would hurt to have some of the ideas that they are thinking about. I would suggest that when we have our workshop, we invite whoever wants to be. Friends of the Library, I will tell you, of all the programs you have in the
I don't want to go
county,
there. I know that.
They are, no,
Don't-
what I'm
Jim,
saying is,
Jim, stop. Let's don't go to that. I wouldn't have said that if I thought you were going to go, anyway.
no, what I'm getting at is I think you have a lot of people
We want to
involved.
hear from the public, we want to hear from people and what
Right.
their wants and needs are. And I think we can gain that through the library board's meeting
Right.
by reaching out to our residents. And I think one of the very important parts of this library being located here, because I followed it as a distance, I wasn't on the council at the time, but when it was announced or mentioned or brought forth that this was going to be a part of Hope Place, you saw immediate turnaround by the residents in the area, that they realized that they're actually going to be directly benefiting from services that currently are 5 or 6 miles at least away, and that would be as the crow would fly. So it is very important. I support the issue. If there are no more comments, is there any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, the motion passes unanimous. And now we'll go to comments, Mr. Deneen, on the other item.
I don't know if you'll need Jerry to comment now. But he can't. It's actually the construction item itself, but I think we pretty much covered that.
Right.
So we'll just go to G.
Okay. You want to comment on item G?
Thank you, Linda.
Good morning again, Donna Butler, Community Services Director. This is a change to our Emergency Solutions Grant. You're familiar with that. It generally funds homeless issues. And HUD has requested that our plan include the provisions that are also provided by the Coalition for the Homeless. So this actually gives us more flexibility in the way that we might be able to assist homeless folks. Currently, we do rapid rehousing and some prevention activities. Now we can actually do some other things as well. We can also do street outreach, emergency shelter, transitional housing, and permanent supportive housing for persons with disabilities. It's not saying that we're going to, but you have now the flexibility if you approve this amendment.
Okay. Which has been approved, so we're good to go. And the other item, was that you had, or
Yeah, and I don't think.
don't
Jer-
need that?
We don't probably need to discuss it now.
We're good on comments?
We're good. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we will now move to the next item on the agenda, which is item 2.
Right.
And that is for the medical examiner
Yes.
appointment.
Mr. Chair, I'm very pleased to bring forward for confirmation my selection of our new medical examiner and chief medical examiner. And her name is, Doctor, would you come forward? Sarah Zidovich, okay? Zydowicz, okay? She comes to us after 6 years as the Associate Medical Examiner in District 9 of Orange County. Her official start date will be April 2nd. She has been an Associate Medical Examiner for us, part-time, on contract, at our medical examiner's office since 2016. Dr. Z is what we like to call her, I think she goes by that, is board certified in forensic pathology, anatomic and clinical pathology from the American Board of Pathology. She has a bachelor's from the University of Michigan, Madison, a master's from Barry University, Miami, and her doctorate from Kansas City University of Medicine and Biosciences. She has a postdoctoral training from the University of Minnesota, the Cleveland Clinic, University of Wisconsin, Northwestern Memorial Hospital, and Hillsborough County Medical Examiner's Office. She is licensed to practice medicine in 5 states. And she's published. The thing that I will point out that I'm the proudest of is that we take serious everyone we hire. I have been very deliberate, okay, in replacing Dr. Herman's got big shoes to fill when you replace that person. We actually looked at different people. I've been involved in all the interviews, even when we hire the associate. These people in this field, there's not as many in this field as there are in other fields, and so there are less people to choose from. But given that, I do believe that we should always try to hire the best that we can. And so I believed that Sarah was the best that we could get in this field, and we actually recruited her, and she agreed to join us. I'm very proud to bring her forward for confirmation today.
Wow, listen to that resume. If you found anyone better than that, I don't know where you would go, but quite very impressive, Dr. Z. And did you want to make a comment, or you want to just wait for the effect of the vote?
I would just say thank you for having me here today. So it's been an exciting time for me. So
Well, I know we all, I say this for probably all of us, we appreciate your willingness and your excitement to be a part of going forward with what we're going to be doing, being instrumental in the design probably, and the operation, of course, the operation of the new facility, which is sorely needed. So
Yes, Mr. Chair, one of the things that Sarah and I talked about was the fact that, and that's one of the keys to when we hired this position, I talked to Dr. Herman about this, is that whoever we brought in new, we are going to build a new facility. Now, whether we have, Seminole County's asked for 3 more months to give us a final decision on whether they want to be with us for the long term. That will determine the size and the type of building, but we're still going to build a new building regardless, even if we do it on our own. What I asked her was, and this is what I wanted from someone, was someone that's enthusiastic, excited about helping us guide through what the design of that new building should be and how it should function. We've talked about things like I want to make sure that we are set up for mass casualties and things like that so that we are ready in the future. Hopefully never have to use it, but I want us to be ready for those things. She's very enthusiastic about doing that. I think that was a part of her interest in this job, together with the fact that we have to hire additional people yet as assistant medical examiners. I really wanted her to be part of the team to hire the new people. And so it was key that we bring the person in at this point. I also want to recognize that Dr. Herman is going to also do some additional autopsies with us on a part-time basis, and she's actually helped us now at making this transition. This will work out well. I'm very excited about the fact that we were excited in her coming here, and she's excited about coming. So,
Okay. Is there a motion to, Mr.
Mr. Chair, I
Patterson?
move for the confirmation of Dr. Z, I guess I'll get by with that.
I will second that.
Seconded by Post. Any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, the motion passes unanimous. And congratulations. And I guess you're not on board. You're just reboarding or additional boarding. or
That's
going
exactly.
to first class.
that's right. Full time.
Full time. Thank you very much.
It looks like they've already poked her this morning with that arm. Is that the shot that the county manager gives to make sure you're the honesty test or something?
We check everybody out.
I think there's a chip placed in there that he can control.
That's
That's what he had to do to convince her to no, I'm just kidding.
It's the same chip I have, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you keep yours turned off for us most of the time.
And just make sure it's not on your shoulder, we'll be all right.
Let's go to item 3. Mr. Deneen.
Gary?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of council. Gerald Brenton, County Engineer. Before you today is good news that you approved submitting an application back in, I believe, July of last year to compete for some of the money from the governor's $85 million Florida Growth or Job Growth Grant Fund. And it was for economic development and growing jobs. And we were successful in getting almost $2 million toward the section of Williamson Boulevard from LPGA up to Strickland Range Road. The total project cost is, including engineering that's already been done and the right-of-way acquisition for ponds has already been done, total cost was $7.4 million. And of the construction is $5.1 million estimate. Of that, you got almost $2 million of state funds, and you've got almost $1.8 million of private money coming from proportionate share, and then the county's putting local option gas tax in about $1.3 million. So that gets that funded, and that's what this agenda item, and I think it'd be appropriate to mention the north section. There's one more mile to the north from Strickland Range, a missing link from Strickland Range Road up to Hand Avenue. And we are competing with council's approval, competed for additional legislative appropriation for that. That's an $8 million project. And it includes having to buy one additional pond, stormwater pond. And the word is, as of last week, when the committee shut down, that we have roughly $2 million, well, we do have $2 million in both the House and the Senate, and it's safe, but it then, when the session ends, it goes to the governor, and we hope that it will avoid the veto pen. So we have the county's lobbyists and others working very diligently to try to avoid a veto on that, because it's very, very crucial. That's the last 1 mile segment of Williamson Boulevard. And you know, that's where the big Florida hospital, sitting right there on that segment. So, and we've got development really going gangbusters in that section. So today is the, is the approval of the agreement for the roughly $2 million of state funds.
Ms. Post.
Considering the tremendous importance of accommodating the growth in that area, I move that we approve the Florida Job Growth Grant Fund Transportation Infrastructure Project Agreement with Departments of Economic Opportunity and Transportation to 4-lane Williamson Boulevard, County Road 4009 in Daytona Beach from LPGA to Strickland Road, Strickland Range Road.
Motion made by Post, second by Wheeler. Any further discussion? Mr. Patterson.
Yeah, this is a long time coming, because I've been in Tallahassee over the last 3 or 4 years, getting the money in and then getting it vetoed and everything, so I'm hoping we can do this, because this is needed. It'll help us when we have incidences out on I-95 to move traffic around and other types of situations, so I'm glad, and that'll make the people out there in that area very, very happy, so glad to see it.
Ms. Denny's.
Just something that caught my attention, I think we need to expand on too, is that 1.8 million by private development in prop share, proportionate share. There's a lot of conversations about impact fees and proportionate share. They stayed under the radar, and they're separate animals here, but I think it's crucial to state for the record that the developer is involved with this, with the proportionate share program. Can you expand on that a little bit, Jerry or Mr. Manager? Or
Well, I'd like Jerry to talk about that portion, but a couple of things, Ms. Dennis, you're right on. We keep getting hearing that, well, the impact fees haven't changed since 2003. We're still in the middle of, we're not the high, we're not the low. And then when you add in the fact that we have fairly significant prop share numbers that have to come from people. Jerry, you want to comment on the 1.8 on the prop share? And that comes directly from the developers. In this case, it actually is not something that's passed along to the homeowners. It comes directly from the developers. And the other thing, I am pretty comfortable with the $2 million from the state. In fact, I was encouraged, which I signed last night, a letter thanking the governor for the $2 million, because we felt that enthused that we were going to keep the $2 million. Also, one other thing I'd like Jerry to comment is, between Jerry, Jamie, and Clay, this idea of pipeline in this project, which was an invention of our staff, is why we're able to take this money and make it into something that'll work. Because it's actually, instead of a little bit of a project you can't afford, it's actually tying it to something that'll actually make an improvement. Jerry, you want to comment on that?
Yes, and before I just want to make a clarification. We talked about needing the governor's approval. That was for the next section.
Right.
This is an agreement. It's not subject to veto. It's his recommendation, so it's safe, this current $2 million. But the roughly $1.8 million, as the manager said, that is a prop share that's really with the city, because this is municipal property along the corridor. So we work, our staff, the county staff works with the city in developing the traffic numbers and reviewing them and coming up with pretty much a negotiated prop share dollar amount. And in this case, it was very substantial, and it allowed this to actually become a reality on the project.
Right, but when Jerry says the city, what he means is we work with the city on what that number is.
Yes.
The developer's still paying the number. So let's make this clear.
Absolutely.
On the record, in addition to impact fees, they are paying prop share. And the reason they're paying is because, in a lot of cases, because our roads are failing. So in a lot of cases, you have to make up and plus together the traffic they're going to put on the road, which could make it fail even more. So
And
they're
on
not
that-
getting credit for that, quite frankly.
And on this next section, the final missing piece from Strickland Range up to Hand, while it's an $8 million project, two is it, is going to be in the bill, but the remainder we're going to, we hope that we will be getting pipeline prop share payments coming to that section. And we will be aggressively going after state grants. There's two that we've received in the past going through Florida DOT. That's the SIGP, County Incentive Grant Program funds, 50% match. We've got the match funds. And then the other one is TRIP funds, Transportational Regional Incentive Program, for a major corridor that connects state roads. This one meets that criteria. So we'll be aggressively going after that because we now have match funds. As Mr. Manager has told you, we're running out of money, so we don't even have that 50% match. With the prop share, that's helping to make that available to us.
Let's go back while we're talking about this, because it's the issue du jour, not just for the for us, but for the city and county-wide on transportation issues. So the prop share in the second mile up to Strickland to Hand, the prop share that's going to come into place will be from development along that area, right, Jamie?
Yes, ma'am. We are currently working with 2 developments, one of them on Williamson, one of them on LPGA. When we do this, we look at both a 3-mile radius and a 5-mile radius to see where the failing segments of road and intersection are. And we work with those developers that they pay a sum that is sufficient for us to meet the impacts that they've created, and provides us with money that we can try to match with the grants that Mr. Britton has been going after to start fixing some of the problems on the road. It's piecemeal, but we are making some progress fixing some very congested areas.
And I think that is critical to the discussion that we're all in today, is that we have existing impact fees, but developers are paying proportionate share fees on top of impact fees. And the county years ago broke this down into pieces that we could work with. And because to come up with a match for 1 mile on an $8 million project, that match is totally different than if we had to come up with a match on a 3-mile segment to 4-lane. That would probably put us out of the ballpark at the beginning, the middle, or the end, especially right now. But because of the posturing and how this was broken down project-wise, has allowed us to leverage the fewer dollars that we have into segments that can be worked out that we could not have done in one large piece. So congratulations to staff. This strategy was implementable. It's brilliant. I mean, it really is. Looking at where we are now and what we have to contend with and fight for and what we don't have.
Well, one of the things that really happened with developers is, Mr. Patterson pointed out, and I'm not sure everybody wants to hear this, is that, and I think the chair touched on this, which was that when you do impact fees, they pay them as they build the homes. And now, what they do is they add the price to the home. So in essence, it's a pass-through. Prop share, one of the big problems is that we have to have the money put up front. So they're not passing this through to, they're paying, that is coming out of the developer. And it's hard because you haven't sold the houses to make the profit to pass the money. So now what they liked with us breaking it into this pipeline is at least they saw what they would get as a piece of a real project rather than money going into a bucket for a project someday in the future. So at least they understood. And quite frankly, the conversations are pretty candid about what it costs to build this, and it's not theoretical. Now you're starting to talk about, is there wetlands there, is there a bridge there, and this gets really expensive. I don't think, and I get an earful of this, that I think that a lot of people believe, and this is all the developers, that they have to pay these fees, and I don't think people understand what they pay. And they believe we're paying that one we are paying directly. The impact fees, as Mr. Patterson pointed out, they just pass them through to the house, which is common in Florida.
I think one of the important factors here that we're kind of passing over a little bit is this is not something that is needed for future development. This was passed, I think, in the House and Senate 2 years ago or 3 years ago, Pat. I don't remember if it was 3. I know at least 2 years ago. It was already needed. It's a segment that's needed, as you mentioned, for diversion of traffic, among other things. And it's not just for future development. As most of our traffic issues or our transportation issues we have, they're needed yesterday and not for future development. While this will help, this is paramount. And the key part, I don't believe prop share hasn't been around for 100 years. I think it's only been around for 4 or 5 years, 6 years, maybe 4.
2004.
Since 2004. But this is a very good way for people to identify issues where we have transportation issues, where you can work together. Oftentimes it's with multiple governments, with the private sector to solve these issues. And I think we're going to see more of this, I hope, and then we can get if we can get the state, the county, the city, and the private sector all working together, then we can have dollars to make a difference. And that's what you're doing in this instance. So, Mr. Patterson.
Well, my comment is that I've had quite a few people come up to me, you know, really jumping all over me about the impact fee issue. And as I told them, you know, in politics, you make a 1-minute statement that requires a 1-hour response, and it puts most people to sleep. And in this case, it's several inches of print in the newspaper that takes many, many inches of responses to really get the entire facts out, and that's what hasn't happened in this. You know, one of the discussions was, we'll raise the impact fees, and I'll vote for the local option gas tax. Well, if that passes, then you have to lower the impact fees back. So there's an adjustment that has to be made in there. So it's a lot more complicated than just saying raise the impact fees. And by the way, that'll stop growth, and I don't want any more people moving in this damn town.
Well, and the other issue on the impact fees on housing, for example, is over an estimated 15 years. The sales tax revenue generated would be generated in large amounts. If you raised the impact fees by $1,000 per home, you're talking about $10 million over 15 years, which is really a small amount of funds, although it would be hard on some people that are building homes. So I think you've got to look at the effect of what the value that you're going to receive from, say, for example, a half-cent sales tax. And what we want to do is we want to be able to put it on where the people can make the decision. Do they want to live with the issues we have, or do you want to address those current issues and plan for the future? Ms. Post, you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I haven't said anything about it.
What?
I haven't said anything about it.
I thought you did, but okay.
But I would like to speak. Well, Councilwoman Denny's, I'm very glad that you brought up about the prop shares and explaining that. I've had a lot of citizens looking into certain development at LPGA and 95 there and asking about, you know, the impact that those developments are going to have on our traffic and the current impact that's already being seen. But I can tell you I've had many meetings with those developers and with our staff and with city staff as well to talk about their share in helping with this and making sure that the correct projects are placed first. And I know that our staff has worked diligently on that, to do that, and to make sure that those the right projects and the right traffic lights and all of that are being placed in the correct order to ensure that things are done properly. So I'm not sure if we'll ever catch up, but it's good. So thank you.
One final comment, and that is, so we don't this gets missed, is a lot of this development, like in the North American development that's going on up there, is distribution, things like that. These are jobs. So it's not just homes. These are jobs that are paying fees. These people are paying fees, and they're to take care of problems that are today problems that we've had problems with the roads, and to fix them. But here's the other thing. The biggest traffic problems we have, without a doubt, are during the tourist season. And that's because you get this giant influx of people, which you want, that helps the economy. But that's the group that doesn't pay, and yet that's the group where we have the largest traffic problems. With the sales tax, in all fairness, that's one of the things the cities are talking about, is the sales tax would at least try to get some money, probably 40% of it, from the people that in a lot of ways are the issue of traffic, that don't really pay for the traffic. So that's one of the things that I think, Mr. Chair, you brought that up at the meetings, and I think that's also somehow getting missed.
Okay. I think people really realize that if we didn't have the tourists coming into town, the town would look like from October through January year-round.
Yeah, it's different.
You know, you could shoot a shotgun down A1A and not hit anybody.
Okay, we need to wind this up, Ms. Post. Again.
An excellent point as well is the fact that, you know, we've mentioned before that previous councils had put a hold basically on the infrastructure budget, and that we haven't been putting monies into that. And now, you know, I've had a lot of questions from the public about all of this, and I think it's important to point out that, currently we are looking at catching up to all the monies that we have not been putting in since the recession, in addition to maintaining, in addition to looking at all of the tremendous growth that we have coming in. So I think that's a very important point for the public to understand is we're really trying to catch up as well.
Okay, we'll end it with this. I don't think any of this is really focused on necessarily the growth. It's focused on taking care of where we are today. If we took the list that was presented by the communities, the $1.2 billion is what they said they need today to put us up to date to handle the transportation and infrastructure needs. That would only take care of us to 2018. Doesn't count what we're going to have over the next 15 or 20 years, which hopefully we'll be in a situation to plan. I know we're planning with TPO for that, and we also are going to be planning to try to take care of that. We keep mentioning Dunlawton. We keep mentioning 44. We keep mentioning Granada. You keep mentioning the other issues. One, I thought that's also important, if we can get the 4-laning of Williamson up to Hand. I know Ormond Beach is interested, Daytona Beach is interested, and several others are, to have the cross over the interstate there, which is very important, not only for what we have now, but for the evacuation systems. I mean, 44 is clogged, so we're going to need another route over that. Are there any objections to the motion?
Can I make one final comment on this?
I didn't see your light. Yes,
I know,
ma'am.
I
Go
guess
ahead.
it's this green light. So what may change all this is technology. The Transportation Summit, I welcome you all to come to the TPO Transportation Summit that's coming up, where we're going to talk about AI and augmented reality and sensors and autonomous vehicles. This is expanding so quick. In fact, bills have passed the legislature. One actually identifies what a human driver is. So this is moving quickly. While we're looking at this, I know it seems, until I was down at West Palm for a transportation summit, I went down thinking one thing and came back completely different, going, it's here. It's not if, it's when. We're here. So we're planning, but councils from us 5-10 years from now, when most of us have rotated off, we'll be dealing with a completely different transportation issue on autonomous vehicles. So it's an intriguing thing, transportation is.
And that meeting is at the Brennan Center on...
It's at the Brannan Center on
March 9th, right?
March.
toward the end of the month.
Yeah, towards the end of the month.
I had it on my calendar yesterday, but it's gone. I
Well,
think
well-
it's the 30th. It wouldn't be the 30th.
No, that's my birthday. They wouldn't do that. Just saying.
Anyway, it is important, and you may note that you heard first here last year, these self-driving vehicles are going to change the entire future of transportation.
It is the 23rd,
Friday
Mr.
the
Chair.
23rd.
Friday morning, 8 o'clock, Brannan Center.
So public's invited, and this,
Invited.
anyway,
Yep.
there are no objections to the motion. Motion passes unanimous. We'll move to item 4. Ms. Magley.
Good morning, Joanne Magley, Community Information Director with your events update, and the highlighted events are new from your last County Council meeting. The Ag Center is hosting the Master Gardener Plant and Vendor Fair on April 7th from 8:30 a.m. to noon. The Master Gardeners have been sowing and growing all year for this sale of plants that are ideal for growing in Central Florida. Registration begins today for the 22nd Annual St. Johns River Cleanup, which will take place from 8 in the morning till 11 a.m. Saturday, April 21st. People that are interested in helping to clean up the trash from the river can go to volusia.org/cleanup to see the 9 different locations and to sign up for the event. Registration begins April 1st for the county's Summer Junior Lifeguard Program camps. These are tryouts that run May 5th through June 15th at locations throughout the county, and then the week-long camps will be held in June and July. And to qualify, kids must be able to swim 100 yards within 2 minutes and 15 seconds, tread water for 5 minutes, and swim underwater 10 feet. So it's not a learn to swim camp, as we like to say. And more information on that is available on the county's beach safety website. Mark your calendars for April 28th for the annual Turtle Day Festival at Marine Science Center. It's a family fun event that highlights medical care that animals receive there, and it showcases the county's Sea Life Rehabilitation Center in Ponce Inlet. And just a couple more announcements that are not on your sheet. Just in, beach safety has been reaccredited for the 5th time by the Commission for Florida Law Enforcement Accreditation. Beach safety has been accredited since 2006, and Ray Manchester is here if you have any more questions on that. And we also want to mention that
Ray was at the accreditation meeting that he had to be at the day for the employee recognition. And Ray was one of the people that did not get an opportunity to go up on stage, who has 30 years in now. And we're very proud of him running beach safety, and we're proud of the time he's put in here. He's a real credit to the county. We really appreciate all his leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, for that. I don't pretend to want to stand out here as an exception to everybody else who earned their accolades for their service, but thank you for mentioning that. And as far as the accreditation, I just want a quick note on that. The assessors come out, and these are from various law enforcement agencies throughout the state. They come to your agency and they want to see what you're all about, basically meaning that you uphold the standards, that your policy meet the standards, and that your practices and procedures all match and come together. They spent 3 days with us, and they look at every nook and cranny and every corner, and they make sure that you're doing what you say you're supposed to be doing, and it matches the standards, and they were very, very impressed. As a law enforcement agency, you can say, okay, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, but the way we manage all 3 disciplines with the law enforcement, the EMS, and the lifeguarding, they couldn't believe that we do it the way we do it. A lot of excuse me, public safety agencies wear one hat or the other. But, for us, we wear all of our hats all the time, and they just couldn't believe it. They go out and they talk to our lifeguards, they talk to our EMTs, and they talk to everybody, and they just couldn't believe how it all comes together. So thank you for allowing me to have the opportunity to mention that.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. And then more good news. Emergency management has been recognized as Storm Ready by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. Storm Ready is a nationwide community preparedness program that encourages communities to proactively manage hazardous weather operations using clear-cut guidelines from the National Weather Service. Emergency Management Director Jim Judge is also here if you have any questions, and we wanted to point out that in addition to that, Jim Judge was recently presented with the Presidential Award for Excellence from the American Red Cross in Washington, D.C. for his 25 years of volunteer service. Judge is an original member of the American Red Cross Scientific Advisory Council, and over the past 25 years, he's led numerous reviews of preparedness, health, safety services, content, and has chaired several sub-councils. He was a driver of the original READY rating program, an expert reviewer of the Red Cross Emergency Medical Response Course, and today leads its Preparedness Sub-Council. So later today, we're going to send a news release with more information on this recognition for him, on the Storm Ready, and on beach safety's reaccreditation. So with that, from me, do you have any other questions? And if not, I open it up to the gentleman behind me.
I think that last bit of Jim's volunteer, that's why we're so fortunate to have him in our county, and for what you do, not only for our county, but also for the state and your work with other communities around the state. So, Jim, hats off, top of the hat.
Thank you, Chairman Kelly and members of the council. And all of these programs that we work on, we bring them home here to Volusia County and we put them into place. So it's wonderful to work at the national level, but then see those programs come home. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That's it, Joanne? We can now move to item 5. And item 5 is the appointment of the Contractor Licensing Construction Appeals Board. Each council member shall make one nomination. So this is the first time we've had Mr. Patterson.
My appointment would be John Minout to the plumbing contractor, to the plumbing part of this deal. That's my motion. John Manaut.
He is, plumbing contractor has been nominated, or actually appointed. So on the appointments, all we have to confirm is the appointments, each individual one, or as we go?
Yeah, there's no second.
Pardon, no second. Any objection to the appointment of John Manaut? No objection. He is appointed on the board. Ms. Denny's.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to nominate Mitch Cole under the mechanical contractor category.
Mitch Cole has been nominated, has been appointed to the board. Any objections? Hear no objections. Motion stands. Ms. Post.
So first, I want to say I was a little sad to not see anyone from District 4 putting in for this. So if anyone in the northeast section of the county is interested, I believe today will make still one opening.
You don't have to make it today. You can hold it and maybe try to find some.
Can't they be from any part of the county?
Yes, absolutely. But
Okay.
I just noticed that no one from our area was interested in this, or appeared to be interested in this position. So, but I'm. Hang on one second. So I actually would like to hold off then,
That's
and
good.
let me see if we can rustle up someone from the northeast section of the county. Thank you.
And Mr. Patterson, I still have you up here on the board. Ms. Post, and now you're gone. Anybody else have a nomination or appointment?
Yes, I would like to nominate Alan P. Kajacob,
Thank you.
an architect.
Alan Jacob. Did we pronounce that correctly? I hope.
Jacob.
Has been appointed. Ms. Wheeler, any objections? Hearing no objection, that motion passes. Ms. Cusack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to nominate Mike McDonald, the consumer representative.
Any objection? Mike McDonald has been appointed by Ms. Cusack. Any objections to that? Hearing none, that appointment stands.
My next. I have one.
You have one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to appoint Michael Wojtuniak.
Michael
Wojtuniak.
has been nominated.
I took special lessons to learn how to pronounce that name.
I bet you know him. Any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, he is appointed. So if you don't have someone that you want to appoint, we can certainly bring this back if you feel more comfortable.
Mr. Kelly, would you like to continue your nomination as well?
I
Would you
think
like?
we will continue the nomination process to the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
Mr. Chair.
We'll move to, yes.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say, perhaps if we could have Joanne maybe do a press release on this to say that we are also looking for people. I noticed all of these people are incumbents and have been on the board, and there's not as many that we need to fill those positions. So
I would have expected that it would have been put out somewhere previously.
If we could do one
If it's
again.
not, it should be, or should have been,
Thank you.
or will be.
Thank you.
All the above. Okay, we'll move on then from item 5, which is, are we there to public participation? Is that right? Well, here we are. We have no one that wishes to speak. So we will move to Mr. Deneen.
Only one comment, Mr. Chair, and that is, somehow I'd asked Mr. Nolan, because we're being asked about the ships and when we would sink them, to start getting some idea. We know now, because we've had people that, you saw the people that went through the ships that would like to see us in the actual sinking. So now we've decided, after talking to the contractor, that we should push it back to the early part of summer. We have not picked a date, and so I was going to bring that back to the council. And when I was gone through this injury I had, somehow that got out as though that's a final date. No, we are looking at June, and I'll get back with the council when we have a better idea, but we have to find out better when the weather is and what everyone's schedule's like. So while we're looking at the early part of June, we won't know till a little bit later in the year.
That's fine.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Counselor,
Nothing, sir.
Ms. Post, you start with closing comments.
All right. Mr. Janine mentioned the employee recognition luncheon, and I just wanted to say that that was a pleasure attending. How many people did we have on that program? There were at least 100? 200? 240. Okay, 240 people who were recognized for having had service with the county for 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and I think we even had one 45-year person. So thank you for your service. The Halifax Humane Society just recently announced their remodeling, so that is moving forward. Very excited about that. They're going to be focusing a little bit more on the actual services that they can provide in the community rather than just shelter. So that's excellent news for the animals in our community. I attended the VCSO award ceremony, so I wanted to say congratulations to all of those people. And I wanted to say a special congratulations. She's not actually here today, but Supervisor-election Lisa Lewis's daughter was actually recognized as Deputy of the Year. So congratulations to her, and congratulations to Lisa Lewis as well. And actually, that's all I had.
Okay. Ms. Wheeler. Ms. Cusack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering if we could move forward about exploring the mosquito control district countywide. Where are we with that?
Ms. Cusack, we'll schedule that. I'll talk to the chair. We'll schedule it for an upcoming meeting. We're ready to discuss it.
Yeah, I think we discussed that months ago, didn't we, Ms. Cusack?
Well, what we said was we
Brought up.
would bring it forward to you to discuss the
Okay.
ramifications and to do some type of maybe straw poll or something to find out whether anyone else was interested. In the old days, you only had one side of the county that was interested, but now there may be thought that so what we will do is we'll be prepared to put forward what this could look like and what the implications are to have in a countywide district.
Okay, we'll put that on an upcoming agenda.
Yes.
Would
Thank
that
you.
have to
That's
be a
all I have.
referendum on that issue? Would there-
You'd have to go forward. Dan, how would you do that if the citizens wanted to do it?
Well, you could make it a countywide, it's actually part of your 10 mil cap. You could just make it part of your general fund. You could create an MSD in the western side of the county with the consent of the cities, or you could have a referendum to create some other special district. I don't. There's some costs that are shared. I haven't discussed with the manager, but the mosquito control on the east side is of a different nature than mosquito control on the west side. So we'd have to look at that.
But
Okay.
it's not part of our
Those are the
general.
kind of things that I would like to have us workshop.
We'll bring it forward for a discussion workshop. Great.
That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Denny's.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, speaking of workshops, Mr. Manager, could you provide council with a list of workshops between now and the end of the year, where you think you're going to go with this? I know we're obviously going to do a budget workshop, but we used to do mini budget workshops throughout the year, and we haven't had one in quite a while. If you could provide council with
I'll give
that.
you the list of the things that I know that are on there for now. One obviously is the libraries, aerospace and aviation aerospace, the budget, which you have several of those because you also have to do the audit. I'll do this one on mosquito control, and we'll look at what other ones the council, I'm going by what the council wanted to discuss. And so I'll show you where we are. I'll talk to the chair about which meetings you want to have them at.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. And the only other, and I don't know if we pull back on that because we're doing the capital project update and the dynamic master plan and where we are in that, but those are just updates. That's not progression or direction setting from council. So while we're getting updates on existing projects, I think this council needs to have some discussion on other projects and where we want to go going forward. So I don't want those quarterly updates to take the place of discussion in budget workshops, mini workshops.
It seems like they have.
It seems like they have. I
Well,
agree
but
with
part of your problem is going to be, and that's where we have to look at what I'm being asked also on looking at the budget. And that's all driven by how much money you have. And that's going to be one of our real issues is there are some revenue issues that I think we're facing. Obviously, there's an interest in cutting taxes, and we have to deal with that. And the other one is, you know, you got a potential referendum coming up, or change on Homestead. That could really affect your revenue. And so a lot of those projects, a lot of the stuff that we have in our plan is all driven by the capital projects that you've outlined based on the money we have. And so that's going to be one of the issues, is what money we have, because that'll drive which new projects we have.
Well, it's going to drive existing projects that are in that
Absolutely.
report.
Because they're what they
It's not, yeah, the
Exactly.
existing, council needs to take a look at that, because there may be some new ideas floating around on some of those things that are within those reporting parameters. But the only other thing I'm going to share with you is I was fortunate enough to represent Volusia County at the National Space Council, actually after our last council meeting down at the Cape. We were one of 200, around 200 the most, around the nation that were there. President Trump reauthorized the National Space Council, and Vice President Pence chairs that. This was the second meeting of the National Space Council held at the Cape, and I had security clearance, took Mr. Earhart down with me. It was a brain trust. I don't know what else to say. It was an amazing event. 2-star, 3-star generals, astronauts, met 1 who had been on the International Space Station for at least 7 months. And we had anybody that you would imagine from around the nation and in commercial aerospace was there. But when they introduced a vice president, was the backdrop was the Apollo mission, the Apollo shuttle complex. So when the lights went down, they brought out the vice president, the vice presidential seal, and the patriotic music that you would expect. Then they just started introducing the cabinet. One by one, they kept pulling them out of the back room, and I'm like, well, who's in D.C.? who's left back there? So we knew the vice president would be there. We had no idea the cabinet would be there. So it was a real honor, and I look forward to staff briefing council here in the near future on what the possibilities are for Volusia County as we tap into the second and third tier supply chain of what's happening all around us, coupled with Embry-Riddle and what we're doing at the airport with aviation. So it's we're Volusia County, we're at the right place at the right time, and it was just a real honor to represent you there. Thank you.
Dr. Lowry.
So, Ms. Dennis, you're saying it was rocket science?
It was. They all were.
I just have one brief thing to say. I was talking to someone recently, and they were talking about how the state was reducing taxes and all that, and I tried to explain to them all they're doing is passing some of that on to us, and the public needs to know that. You know, we have a mindset we'd like to cut taxes here, but when the state cuts certain things out, all it does is put it on our table. Right. And I just want to make that a public statement today. Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Patterson.
About the only thing I have to say is we'll be sending a letter down to the Sunrail Commission Chairman requesting, asking, begging, whatever we want, that our 3 amendments be put on the next meeting, which is going to be held next month. And then from there, we will have to make, whether they decide to do it or not, and then we'll have to make some decisions on what we're going to do next, whether we get nasty about it or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick things. One, I have a copy of a letter that I sent as the chair was being asked by Security First Insurance Company, which is building in Ormond Crossings. They're the first company that's going in there. They're building 133,000 square foot headquarters to house up to 750 employees. The employees' average wage earnings will be $62,000. They asked me because they felt like they have a vehicle to submit to our legislature for funding of $295,000 to help with the intersection which will access Ormond Crossings on US 1. I did that as me. I know Mr. Patterson was probably asked.
Actually, you sicked them on me.
Well,
and I was glad. I have been on the phone making some phone calls.
Okay.
It's just right. You know, the timing on it is not good because we're right at the end of it, and certain events have really drawing a lot of money in different directions. So I think the best we can work on is for the next legislative session, which we can get engaged in.
I
mean,
shared
we're
that exact
trying.
thought, that I thought it was late. They said that that is supposed to be done Thursday and Friday. I felt to accommodate Lockbert and the company with what they're doing to support it from the county to get that done, because it's something that FDOT is requiring to be done, and it will probably save $250,000 by having it done this way, because they were going to make them put in a right turn only, then a U-turn. If we can go ahead and put the traffic signal in now, it saves 4 or 5 years from now having to go back and do it. So if they can get help from that, you also have the private sector who is looking to help with this, and maybe part of the public. I met with the City of Ormond Beach and the group sometime, I guess it was last week, it could have been yesterday, I don't know, it wasn't yet, last week, and heard their thoughts on what they're trying to do there. So I agreed. I think it's worthwhile to support the letter. I wanted you all to be aware that I was doing that.
Mr. Chair, I talked to some of the members of the Transportation Committee on the appropriation side, and thinking, there's maybe some money that the governor had or the speaker had in the pot. There's always a little pot of money, and learned that the speaker is absolutely against any member projects this year. So that's, I went everywhere I could go.
I didn't feel that optimistic about it either, this late of a date, and the fact that things have changed since Locke was there in 94, 5, 6, 7, whenever it was. Those little pots of money.
Joyce and I can say that there was years ago when it was a kinder, gentler place to be.
I won't. Absolutely. And then the other thing is, I didn't come up with this idea, although I said I would listen and share. Once the state does what they are going to do with the securing the safety of our students, I wonder if we could look at working with the school board through the sheriff's department and providing security to make sure that all of the facilities do have resource officers, or if they're necessary, if we can look at it. I'm not saying we can do it, and if we can look at it, depending on whether they come in with fences and security and measures that we feel maybe might not be necessary, but the safety of our children and our students is very important this time. And if the state doesn't do what I'm hoping they will do, which is appropriate the funding for the additional security measures, if all of that gets cut, then we should look at it. I'm not saying that we could do it or be able to afford, but I was given a number that it would take about $4 million a year, which would be half of the $8 million a year to provide the necessary security. And that's a huge amount. That's basically 5% of our general fund. So I'm not saying that we can do that. Let's see what the state does, and if the state does enough that we feel like we can help to increase that with the school board, at least look at it, because it is important.
Let's see. Did you talk to the chair of the school board?
Did not yet.
I would start there.
Well,
I would encourage you to start there.
I was led to believe that he's aware, but I will speak to him next week to see, because I don't know that they have the funding to do part of it. So, Ms. Post.
I went the other night there was a public discussion it was the community gathering to talk, it was teacher, staff, and community to talk about what truly is needed for the students in our county. And I can tell you that Linda Cuthbert from the school board was there, and some city council people. And the discussion is definitely, there are some very passionate parents, let's say, in our county that are very worried about this. And I agree with you. I think it's, we definitely need to be talking about it. Where we end up, who knows? But I'm certainly in agreement with the discussion, because it's very unfortunate that we have to have this discussion, but, you know, safety is certainly paramount, and with my background, and I currently teach situational awareness, I can tell you that it's definitely something we need to be looking at, so I'm in agreement.
We can at least discuss, look at it and see where we can go. Like I said, we don't know what the state's going to do, but it's on everyone's mind right now since the latest incident hit so close to our community in the state of Florida.
The other thing we're doing, Mr. Chair, is we're trying to monitor where they're going to get the money from.
Exactly.
Because we're being told that they're going to go around and take it from, they may be taking some projects that we think we have. So we're also going to look at what we might lose.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand what they're doing. I'm not criticizing that, but they got to get the money someplace. And I understand they're going to go across the board and start taking it from
What's like
different places.
$450 million or $500 million?
At least $400 million.
$400 million.
They already
if
are
they're-
cutting.
pardon?
Yeah, they already are cutting.
Yeah, they're looking at 400. Well, it's just like when they give money to the schools, they increase the property tax that we have to account for and be criticized for. They're raising taxes because they're giving the school board more money by us raising taxes. So if anybody out there from the state legislature is listening to it, tell the people that. So anyway, if there's nothing else, we will adjourn at 11:21.
Mr. Chair, do you want to make an announcement about this meeting this afternoon you're going to have?
Okay. We will have the combined meeting, which I guess is a mitigation type hearing. Dan, you want to share exactly what it is, or Jamie?
Well, you'll have your joint meeting with the city of Daytona Beach Shores at 2 p.m. at the
EOC.
Sheriff's Communication Emergency Operations Center. I don't think I got
Right.
the words out in the correct order, but in the media room again at 2 p.m. It's a special meeting of the county council. It's a joint meeting with the City of Daytona Beach Shores Council.
And it's open to the public.
And it is open to the public, is advertised and open to the public, 2 o'clock.
The public would certainly be welcome. It's part of the conflict resolution process.
That's what it's called. I knew it was something to do with something legal, and rather defer to the legal eagles than to me. So thank you, and we will adjourn. EOC.